Okay, 12.2 part 1, so we're going to start talking about combinations of n objects taken r at a time. So the formula for the combinations of r number of objects taken from a group of n distinct objects is noted by NCR and is given by the equation NCR is equal to n factorial over n minus r factorial times r factorial. So let's just do a really basic one here. Let's say that we have, I don't know, let's say we have 5 total objects, and we are going to take 3 of them out. Okay, so how many different combinations of those 3 objects out of the 5 total objects can we have? So we would abbreviate that 5C3 because we are taking out r number of objects out of 5 total objects, and that would be equal to n factorial, so 5 factorial over 5 minus 3 factorial times 3 factorial. So let's see what that looks like simplified. So 5 factorial over 2 factorial times 3 factorial. And I'm going to write that all out in 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, just so we can see what all is going to wind up canceling out. So then we've got 2 times 1 times 3 times 2 times 1. So, of course, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So what we're really left with is 5 times 4 on top, which is 20, divided by 2 times 1 on bottom, which is 2, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. So what we're saying is there are 10 possible combinations of 3 objects being taken out of a total of n or 5 objects. Okay. So for example 1, now we have 18 total basketball players, okay, and they're competing for 5 starting positions. So order doesn't matter here. We're just looking for 5 different players out of the 18 players on the team. Okay, so we're talking about a combination here. So how many different ways can we choose 5 players out of 18? So 18C5. So that would be 18 factorial over 18 minus 5 factorial times 5 factorial. So that is equal to, if we do 18 factorial, so we get a beautifully large number, but instead of doing that, I'm going to expand it out and try and eliminate the things that I have. So remember 18 times 17 times 16 times 15 times 14 times 13 times the rest would be 13 factorial over 18 minus 5 is 13 factorial, if I simplify that set of parentheses, times 5 factorial. Okay? So the 13 factorial and the 13 factorial top and bottom reduce to 1. And so we have 18 times 17 times 16 times 15 times 14 divided by 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Well, on the bottom, 5 factorial is 120, and 18 times 17 times 16 times 15 times 14 gives me 1,028,160. So divide that by the 120, and I get my total possible ways that I can get my 5 starters of 8,568. Now, when we have more than one thing going on, we may have to multiply if we're talking about an and situation, or we're going to add when it's an or situation. So we have a bunch of new releases coming out at this video rental place. We've got 8 different comedies, 3 different family movies, 10 action movies, 7 dramas, and 2 mystery movies. So A says, suppose you want exactly 3 comedies and exactly 2 dramas. How many different movie combinations can you rent? Well, since it's an and situation, we're going to do 3 out of 8 total movies. So that would be 8 factorial over 8 minus 3 is 5 factorial. Okay, times this 3 factorial again for my R number of times, times 7 factorial for my total number of dramas over 7 minus 2 factorial, which would be another 5 factorial, times 2 factorial for the number of dramas that I'm going to plan to pick out. So 8 factorial over 5 factorial times 3 factorial works out to be 56 times 7 factorial over 5 factorial times 2 factorial turns out to be 21. So I have 56 times 21, which is 1,176 possibilities. Then for B, it says suppose we can only afford at most 2 movies. Okay, so at most 2 movies, no more than 2. So we're going to either rent 1 movie out of the total number of movies or 2 movies out of the total number of movies. So that we have 30 movies total. 8 plus 3 is 11, plus 10 is 21, 28, 30. 30 total movies. So that means that we have 30 movies of which we could select just 1, plus 30 movies of which we could select 2. So this is an or situation, so we're going to add those. So if we're only choosing 1 and we have 30 possibilities, then that means that we have 30 possibilities. Okay? Plus, if we have two choices out of the 30 total possibilities, well, if we do all the math for that, the 30 factorial over 30 minus 2 factorial times 2 factorial, we get 435. 30 plus 435 is 465 possibilities if we're choosing 1 or 2 movies, which could explain why it sometimes takes people a really long time to pick out movies at Blockbuster.